Welcome. Thank you all so much for attending today's event. We are very hopeful that this will be thought-provoking, will allow those participants and speakers to really have consideration with an open mind of what the future may bring as we witness some very much evolution of the regulated space. As Heather indicated, my name is Greg Mitchell. I'm head chair of the insurance industry group at Frost Brown Todd. For those who don't know me, I have about 3 decades of experience in insurance regulation and risk management, and started out in the world of insolvency and have grown up to build insurance carriers. And frankly, I think I'm very blessed in that I get to see a lot of the companies that you're with, hybrid products, industry that tries to manage their risk, and it gives us a very broad spectrum of what the various aspects of the industry and non-insurance industry as to how they try to manage their risk and develop products that accomplish that. With that, in our group, we started a number of years ago to try to have attorneys and other insurance professionals that are dedicated to the industry. And that is, we try to concentrate in and not just be lawyers where we stick our finger in the book and we say this is what the statute of regulation says, but we understand how it evolved, how the departments try to understand it, where they're coming from, and try to truly have a unique experience of where we can be really business partners with industry and coming up with very creative solutions. And so with that, the InsuranceConnect, what we really hope to accomplish is today is really a thoughtful dialogue, not just with the speakers, but also with everyone here. And so that we please welcome and encourage you to please have that dialogue with an open mind. We are very blessed to have a distinguishing group of individuals who have agreed to speak and panel, but they're really here to open the dialogue, open the discussion. When we talk about kind of the innovation into insurance or insurtech and all the words that have come up, what I see is for years we've had a lot of technological improvement and evolution of where technology is all interfaced with our lives. But in the last couple of years, we see really some more dramatic changes where tech has really, for the first time, started to delve into the regulated space. For years, they were really on the back end. They were really scared or concerned to get into that. And really, the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of money rush in to the space. First with fintech on the financial side and the payment systems, but really the last couple of years, they're really rushing headlong into the insurance regulated space. And for those of us who deal with insurance regulation, it is not easy. It's not easy in the normal traditional markets, more or less where you're trying to create new and innovative products. It's very difficult, and we live in a world where our regulation takes a long time to evolve, and with that evolution creates problems. So I have personally witnessed technology of some running headlong into saying they're going to be an insurtech. They don't have a clue, and frankly, I don't think they care about having a clue of how they're regulated. Others enter the space with very great trepidation. And so some of what we see is disruptive. They're really trying to change the dynamic, like an Uber, like a Lyft, a home sharing. Try to come out from a total different aspect that would disrupt entire businesses. Others are trying to do it from the aspect of being supportive, changing the back end, improving the systems. For anyone who's been in a company's system and know how antiquated that we're still dealing with systems that are, frankly, some companies are still dealing with paper. And with paper and the evolution of systems and interfaces and all of the operational detail that we all face, moving from the world of insurance and how insurances operate into the world of technology is not going to be easy, either from the regulation that we deal with, nor from the systems that are there and you have to try to accommodate, even if you're trying your best to do it in a compliant manner. So one of the things that I like to say is really, where are we? When I look out the U.S. Doing with state-based insurance regulation, We have primarily state-based insurance regulation within various areas of some limited federal preemption that we have to deal with. But when I look at this space, I look at other countries, like in the UK, they've already developed what's called a sandbox. There's other countries out there, from like Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, that have created opportunities to really be able to get into like a laboratory setting and see how regulation may be looked at from a totally different perspective. And it's kind of that thought process that we would really like to have the dialogue today in all the different subjects of, we have a lot of talent, we have a lot of wisdom, of years of experience in various facets of insurance, and so hopefully collectively we can really look and say, what can we do as an area? Heather mentioned how important insurance is to Indianapolis. This area is really encompassed with back-end operations of insurers from all various facets. The corridor from here to Louisville, down to Nashville, we have a tremendous saturation. If we add in driving over to Columbus, that saturation. Really, the Midwest is blessed with a lot of insurance professionals and talents. So the question I would like to present for everyone today is say, why can we not change the paradigm? Why cannot Kentucky or Indiana step out and be leaders in some fashion to start the process in our Midwest region, to have the sandbox, to have the laboratory? And one of the things that I've kind of challenged myself is I've tried to challenge the team, of which when we add new attorneys or we add insurance professionals and their various backgrounds, is to step out and remember why insurance exists and what are the reasons for how it's actually started to come about. We didn't start out in this world with regulation. When I was just in the introduction, Tony Cotto, who used to with us, and he'll be on the first panel, was mentioning about the Board of Auctioneers and whether they want to be regulated or not regulated. Well, there were a time of day where insurance really doesn't exist in an industry. So for those of you who have studied the history of insurance, I'll take you back to the days when you would be in England and people would bet on whether somebody would live or die. And that gave rise to regulatory concepts of why not anybody can actually insure someone else's life, because maybe they may have an economic interest in not have you live. Or the days of when the ships would go out to sea and they would sit in the pubs and bet as to whether that ship would come back or not. And so you look at that, and what I've seen in some of the concepts of whether it's disruptive or whether it's simply changing and trying to improve the distribution channel. You take something as simple as fire protection, and you look at how fire protection started, and those who have read the story about the cow in Chicago, and we had the Great Chicago Fire, and we had all those carriers fail, and you had things that were actually people came together to pool resources, to create risk pools. And they weren't called risk pools then. People were just trying to find a way to protect their neighbor's house, and if their neighbor's house burnt, they didn't want it to burn their house, and they would all agree to basically be volunteer fire department in this risk pool to help each other out. But what happened when somebody else has that wasn't in that risk pool, they go show up at the house and they actually wouldn't go and put the fire out. And then what did they learn? Well, that house may burn, nobody's there, it may actually get to their house. So, that started the whole thing about some public access to having fire departments. So when we challenge ourselves and we look back in history as to why, and we say, why not? I'd like to challenge the audience and all the panels to really stop and think and say, let's think out of the box. Let's think about the way things have been done and ask, why can we maybe not change things, see them from a different point of view, and maybe we'll create disruptive products, maybe we'll help improve the system, or maybe we'll just be able to influence our politicians and legislatures and policymakers that maybe they'll give our Midwest region the tools of which we can create more jobs and be a center of influence to help make the insurance industry and other industries more effective as we look to the change of the future. So with that, I want to introduce new partner, Bill Williams. I'm very pleased to say that Bill was the former Deputy General Counsel of United Healthcare, head of their legislative and regulatory affairs. And Bill has been pleasure enough as he's just joined us this week as part of our insurance industry group here in Indianapolis, and he has volunteered reluctantly to chair our legislative session. And what we really hope to accomplish with the legislative session and Bill with our very distinguished panel members is to really challenge the legislative and the policy people to see how they might actually help us, see if we can change the way things work here in our Midwest region. Thank you all very much.